But then we got this knock on the door, and there was all these kids, and they were like, "Are your kids inside?" And they all had these like plastic AK-47s they wanted to play. And me being an American, I was like, whoa, why are all these kids at my door with these plastic guns?
Hello. Today on our show, we have the pleasure of speaking with an incredible woman who's a true inspiration for all of us who have a passion for exploring the world while earning a living. Lacy is a single mom who took the opportunity to move to China with her family and teach at a school in Beijing in 2019. However, things took an unexpected turn when the pandemic hit and forced her to pivot her life plans. Since then, she's been to several amazing countries worldwide with her two elementary-aged girls. Her story is a testament to resilience, strength, and the extraordinary things people can achieve when they have a passion and purpose. Today, Lacy will share with us her incredible journey of working remotely, raising children, and exploring new cultures. So, buckle up and get ready to be inspired by Lacy's story. Hello, Lacy.
Hello, David.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a bit hot here in the Dominican Republic, but we are doing well.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing when I talk to people. Everybody's all over the world. It's totally different. Like, how's the weather? It takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, can you give us a little bit about you? Because we've talked to a lot of single parents out there who think world schooling is too hard without a co-parent, but you've been doing this with your girls for several years now. So, like, how did you get started? What inspired you? Yeah, that kind of thing. Can you give us a little background?
Yeah, sure. So I am a single mom by choice, which means that I've adopted my two girls alone. And, I was teaching in Las Vegas, Nevada, and life was fine. But when my girls are now 9 and almost 6, but at the time they were turning 2 and 5. So when my oldest was getting ready to begin kindergarten, I couldn't do it. I didn't want them going to school in the United States. And honestly, as a teacher, it became scary because every day I would think, okay, when my daughter's here next year and something were to happen, do I dart down the hall for my kid? Do I help the kids in my classroom? And that thought just became really overwhelming. And so I have had a few friends teach internationally, and I decided that it was time to try it out. And so I Googled one night international recruiting agencies, filled out my profile, saw that there was a hiring fair coming in the next, I think 3 or 4 weeks later, bought tickets and left. And this is a funny story to me. So, it just is like a bit of my personality, I guess, on display. When you go to these recruiting fairs, there's apps that connect you with other candidates that will be there, or the schools and the recruiters and things like that. And a gal, her name is Sherry, she had posted like, "Oh, I live in Atlanta and I have an extra bed if anybody needs a place to stay." And I was like, well, that sounds like free, so that sounds good. So I didn't know her, but I messaged her and said I'd be happy to crash on her couch, and so I did. So I flew to Atlanta, crashed on her couch, and went to the recruiting fair where I was hired for Beijing to teach at a school in Beijing. 6 months later, we left.
There you go. Yeah, it's great to have friends in different places that can help out like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what were the initial challenges that you faced?
Well, this might sound a little unconventional, but the honest answer is the backlash from human beings. My friends and family didn't understand why I could want to leave the United States. And I just know from being in college, many of my friends were given the opportunity to travel abroad or study for a semester abroad. And that wasn't an option for financial reasons for me in college. And I've always just had this like wanderlust about me that felt like I needed to leave. And so I didn't have that like same fear and trepidation as my friends and family. So I would say honestly that was the hardest barrier in the beginning, was fielding questions, felt like every day about our safety and how can you take a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old abroad? They're going to be trafficked. The laws are very strict in other places. They'll cut your hands off if they catch you stealing. Not that I steal, but I mean, it was, that was the hardest part. Yeah.
I bet. I mean, yeah, we hear that all the time about friends, family, the people that have been so supportive of you forever, and then this is a huge deal to a lot of them. So, did people end up starting to come around eventually for you, or can you tell me more about
Yeah,
that?
some did. My mom is still not thrilled with our choices to travel. I think once we got there and I started sending pictures and I wrote a little blog post for a very short period of time, people were like, "Oh, okay, there's like playgrounds in Beijing and there's ice cream shops." And they realized that it's actually just a big city like anywhere else. So it got easier.
Yeah. Yeah, we we tend to think of the world in terms of our own little areas. It reminds me of a quote: "People who travel see the whole book, and people who don't see just one little page." Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And so opening up that book is amazing. So now we're back to you working in China when the pandemic hit. How did this unexpected global event really reshape your travel plans, and how did you maneuver through to the new challenges that it posed?
Yeah, that ruined the plan, but it ruined it in many ways, but also reshaped things. So, I have a phrase now when people say, "Well, how long will you be in the next place?" And now my answer is whenever the wind tells us to go. So I don't have plans anymore. I can't tell you, "Oh, I'll be in the Dominican Republic for 2 years and 8 months." And then like now it's anything can happen. So, yeah, the funny thing here is that we had been to the Maldives for Christmas and we stayed with a family on a very remote island because the Maldives is very expensive and I don't have Maldives money. And so we flew to anyways, long story short, we stayed at a local family. And I remember being on that island thinking, man, all the stuff my kids can learn while we're here. Like they're learning about the tide, which is the gravitational pull of the moon, and like the little crabs and why they can walk left to right instead of front and back. And we were just learning so much. And I thought one day I want to be able to just travel more and let them see more of the world and learn sort of on the go. So that was Christmas. And then, yeah, Chinese New Year hit and we were on school break. And that is also when COVID hit. And so I very quickly made the decision to take my girls back to the United States for what I thought would be 2 weeks while we waited it out for the last 2 weeks of our holiday vacation. And we never were able to return. So that was very challenging. You can imagine I had a whole life there and I had to have friends and our nanny pack up the house and sell almost everything and
Mm.
ship us back our things. And so it was during that that happened. We came back January 30th and then I didn't have anywhere to live in the United States. As you can imagine, I sold everything I owned and moved to China. So we were staying with this friend for a few weeks and that friend for a few weeks. And I decided that we'd go to Guatemala. So, yeah, we packed a suitcase and took my girls to Guatemala. And that was the plan, that we just waited out in Guatemala until, the pandemic was over and we'd go to China from Guatemala. Well, we landed in Guatemala on March 14th, which, if you recall, that is the day the world shut down and the Guatemalan president closed the borders. So we then basically lived in Guatemala for a while until we could get back to
Hmm.
the United States. And then basically from there, I had to get a job. So I decided to teach in Texas. Um, but midway through my teaching in Texas, the US wasn't it. I was very unhappy. We wanted to be on the road. I wanted to be seeing the world. And that's when I discovered a world school hub here in the Dominican Republic, in a small little town. And so mid-year, I quit my teaching contract and sold everything we owned again and left 6 weeks later and flew to the Dominican Republic. I had never been. I didn't know a single soul in the Dominican Republic. The town of where the school is at is so tiny that it's called Cabrera, that when you Google it, like you can find nothing about
Nothing.
it. But that's what we did. And I've been here now. We've been here for almost 2.5 years.
Wow. So, yeah, it's very inspiring, very brave, and I love it because there's so many different places you can go in the world, but finding a place that has a hub, and I don't agree with all hubs out there, but these hubs give an opportunity for people to really have socialization and find a family and a group that they can just move into. If it works out well, great. If not, you can still move on. So it's almost like a built-in family to find.
Yeah, well, what was really cool about our experience in Cabrera was it's just like so funny when I think about it. We arrived to somewhat of like a mansion that basically had like a central kitchen and living room with 7 little casitas like all the way around it. So we just moved in with 7 families that we had I didn't know who they were. So you had between 20 to 25 human beings sharing a live space. And while at times that community living was really challenging, it also was sometimes I would just think about what it must have been like to live, in like the early 1800s or 1700s when you just had a village. I don't think in those 6 months I bathed my kids myself one single time because there were so many teenagers that wanted to take care of the 3-year-old that they asked to bathe her or shower her or braid her hair or take the 5-year-old swimming. At the time she was 6, I guess. Anyways, it was just like it made me think so much about, wow, is this actually how we're supposed to be living? Like in a community like this and not so isolated. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that tight community living. I've seen it in a few places that we've been as well. And it's just, yeah, it's foreign to me in concept, but it reminds me of like how my mom said that they grew up and how my grandmother mentioned how they grew up. It's totally different nowadays, though, you know?
Mm.
Now, but you've got some amazing experiences, some awesome stories, and I do want to hear about some of your stories too. But I do have to ask a question that probably everybody's saying right now, and all these world schooling families get asked, how do you finance your lifestyle? How do you travel around the world, move to all these exotic places and everything? How do you afford it?
Well, I will tell anyone who's listening that for the power of manifestation is like huge to me. And I know people are going to roll their eyes as soon as they hear that, like, oh, you can't manifest income. But I had a car accident right before I decided to move to the DR, was able to sell my car. So I had some money that got me through like 7 months. And then I was like, well, I don't actually have a plan for after the 7 months are over, but something will work out. Like I just have this blind trust. So, I mean, anyways, it did work out. So it turned out one of the families that we met in that community living during, I think like the 3rd or 4th month, a new family had come in, actually was launching a startup educational tech company. And she had said, hey, like, you seem like a great fit. If you're ever interested, please let us know. And I messaged her about a month later after she had gone back to her town in Virginia. And anyways, I am now working for them and have been with them for a little over 2 years. And so I work completely remotely. I am tied to my computer a bit, during the day, but it pays a regular old US salary and US health benefits. So
Ah.
that's how I'm financing this. Yeah.
So you're telling us you're not independently wealthy. You didn't fall into the lottery or win the lottery or any of that. You found a job that allowed you to have the freedom that you wanted because of the community that you were a part of.
It was, I mean, some would call it luck, but I would say I set my intentions and we set off. And so, as I said in the beginning, when the wind blows, we go. And so definitely not independently wealthy. I guess I could say this though, David, to folks who are like, oh yeah, that sounds great. The thing is when you live in the US, you're a bit like, not, this is, I'm unfair for a blanket statement, but like consumerism is huge. And every time I go back, I just like start buying stuff incessantly. But our lifestyle where we are here and where I was in Beijing, because I couldn't read anything. So like I never really bought anything in Beijing. And then in Guatemala, like we didn't buy stuff. So my money is not going to $400 at Costco every Saturday. Or, we choose to purchase our produce from the truck that drives down the street, right? And I don't know, like when we fly, people are strange about flying, but we fly Spirit because Spirit has the best rates from here to the United States. My girls and I can fly a round trip to the United States for under $500 for three of us, which I think is fairly cheap. But we also are like, we're not checking bags. So we figured out how to roll our stuff up. We each get a backpack and we fit like 5 to 6 days worth of clothes in a backpack, and we wash clothes when we go back to visit people. That's a mind shift, because before my travel days, I would have the big giant suitcase and the little tiny suitcase and the backpacks, and each backpack would have toys for the kids. And, I'd bring 14 outfits and 3 curling iron and the blow dryer and 6 shoes. And we just don't do that anymore. The hair goes in a ponytail. The girls bring the shoes on their feet and a pair of shoes in the backpack. And I bring versatile clothes, right? Like black leggings and a couple dresses. And now I can afford to travel because I'm not paying for baggage anymore. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Because I do. You paint that picture so well. I've seen so many people. It's not just a movie stereotype or a TV stereotype that people take these huge luggages and take their curling iron and everything from but the kitchen sink with them. But yeah, but flying carry-on saves you so much time, so much effort. It makes you think differently about what you need in life. And I think that does help with most of these travelers that I talk to. So then that brings us back to work-life balance then. So as a working mom, maintaining a balance between work, travel, raising 2 daughters, it must be quite an adventure itself. So can you
Yeah.
share some insights on that? How do you juggle these roles?
I mean, the village.
Hmm.
So my girls are surfers. So they both surf 3 days a week. They both have soccer twice a week. They kind of bounce in and out of skateboarding classes. They're busy, but I can't do it all on my own, right? Because I'm working, and sometimes there's a work meeting on top of a soccer practice, but it's the village. So it's so easy here when you are living amongst people who are from all over the world and have no family and have friends here, right? But we must depend on each other. And so it's so easy. I just send a text and say, like, oh, hey, so and so, is there any way you can drop Cora off from soccer practice? And they're like, not a problem. And there's other times that I'll say, hey, so and so, I'm gonna be picking the kids up from surf. Let me just grab all the kids and I'll drop everyone off on the way home. Um, it's the only way. And that wasn't available when I lived in the United States. There was no community like that. Um, but here, everyone just takes care of everyone's kids, and it's really beautiful.
So there's going to be people then listening who are going to be like, how do you trust your kids with somebody else? You mentioned earlier you had people telling you that they're going to get kidnapped and trafficked and this and that. So how do you speak to that when somebody is like, trust? How do you trust?
Uh, no, I have a good answer, David. I can only speak my truth. I believe that the world mostly is good. And I haven't been anywhere that my children haven't been seen as like not a bother, right? So in China, my little one was 2, she literally turned 2 months after we arrived. I never had to eat a meal with a crying kid, because if she started crying, a waitress would come get her and just like walk around with her on her hip. And when we were in Thailand, the same thing. There's people are bringing snacks and just there's no, like, they see me with a backpack and whatever, someone comes and grabs the backpack. And when we were in Guatemala, and Guatemalans, kids are like everything there. And now in the Dominican Republic, the Maldives, everywhere we've been, people love children. So it's hard, right? Like if you've never really left, you're like, yeah, they love children because they're going to kidnap them later. But it just isn't that way. I mean, so I guess all I can tell you is I just do. I don't know. Yeah.
I get it. Seeing the world the way we've seen it as well, you see the exact same thing. Children have a lot more responsibility. They're more free. I see them walk down to the stores, and the way that people immediately gravitate towards helping with kids is pretty much a worldwide thing in a lot of the countries that we've traveled to. So I understand where you're coming from on that. And you did a good
Yeah.
you did great explaining your thought process. I mean, it's trust.
And it's not to say blind. You don't like you don't blindly trust folks, you know. I don't My girls don't get to have sleepovers with like their male surf coaches or something like that. In fact, one of our coaches was like, "Hey, we're gonna take this surf trip. It's 3 hours away, and I'm just gonna bring all the kids and we're camping on the beach." And he's just so innocent. Like, I'm just taking all these kids to camp on the beach. And I was like, "No, you're not. My kids aren't going to that one." Because there is some level of like, you know, sensors, like, oh well, there's something could happen. But in general, I think the trusting factor is just huge. Like, people are good. I just believe people are good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. People are good. And in general, I think you're right too. So now, as a family, let's go back a little bit and let's talk about these memories you've probably collected,
Mm.
travelers, and we've talked about obviously the bad stuff that happened with this pandemic. How about sharing a couple of your most unforgettable experiences?
I've thought about this question so much over the last 4 years. Like, what is the one? And there's not just one. So I have to give you a several.
That's
So the
fine.
first one would be when we went to Chiang Mai. We landed in China July 24th, and then we had our first fall break October like 2nd. So we were there a very short time. We went to Thailand. We went to Chiang Mai and we were in the hills, like 3 hours in the jungle where we spent a whole day with the elephants. And these were elephants that had been rescued. Don't ride elephants, nothing like that. There was no agenda. We had to just hang with the elephants and do what they wanted to do. Um, and I have this picture that I look at like all the time of my two kids and my friend's two kids just running. And you see these itty bitty tiny little like things running with like a giant elephant in the background in this jungle set on the Myanmar River. And that picture for me just speaks the essence of freedom. Like, kids are meant to be free, and that is, I don't know, that's top. There's no top five. There's like three top ones. Then the second one would be in the Maldives. We went there, and I didn't know before going to the Maldives that the Maldives is a Muslim country. And so when we arrived, my daughters were like, "Oh, you know, like all these people, they're wearing these long outfits and it's hot." So that was a really cool opportunity to talk to them about culture and clothing. But then we got this knock on the door, and there was all these kids, and they were like, "Are your kids inside?" And I was like, and they all had these like plastic AK-47s they wanted to play. And me being an American, I was like, whoa, why are all these kids at my door with these plastic guns? Like, you know, this is not going to be safe. Back to like, is it safe, right? And I really was like, okay, they can play. And then I just like followed them everywhere. And I asked the homestay dad if anything would happen to them if I let them play. And he was literally confused. He said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, will somebody steal them or kidnap them?" And he actually didn't understand my question. And I was like, "No, like, you know, people take kids." And he said, we don't, why would anyone take someone's kid?" Like, he just couldn't fathom the question. And that was monumental for me in shifting my thinking, and that the rest of the world doesn't see things the same way that I did as an American. And then there's this video of my daughter playing like paper, rock, scissors with these kids, and she's got this huge smile on her face. And it's like, man, kids from all over, the kids are just kids, no matter where they're from, they're just kids. And so that was one of my favorite moments. And then my last, well, I've got tons, but my other really favorite one was in Guatemala. The gardener at the Airbnb that we had rented for the whole time, they were having a celebration for Mother's Day. And so they had invited us over. And that was just so special to spend a day with people playing like bobbing for apples during COVID. It might have been a bad idea, but just like all these different games, and it was so joyful. So yeah, those are my top three
Those
memories.
are lovely top three, yes. And from all over the world, a different location, a different time period. It's just, yeah, it's outstanding. So your girls have grown up with this lifestyle. How are they different from their cousins or your friends' kids and
Yeah.
things like that?
It's a good question. We just came back from the US from a 12-day tour. We went to see friends in different states, and Cora, my oldest, was like, hey, like anyone want to go outside and play? And the kids are like, well, we can go outside and play. There's no one watching us. And my daughter was like, what do you mean? Like this idea that parents had to be out watching was so foreign to her. And I think this like being on a tablet and being on their games was really all the kids wanted to do. And my daughters were like, when are we gonna go outside and build and create and find sticks? And so that's been a challenge. The other challenge is they're feral. My children are feral. I mean, there's no other words for it. Where we live in the Dominican Republic, kids do not have to sit down at restaurants. Every restaurant's on a beach or has a play space. Same thing in Beijing. So kids are not actually asked to sit at a table with their parents while they're enjoying a meal. It's common for kids to grab a bite and run. And so when we go to the US, in June, we went to the Cheesecake Factory with my sister, and she said, inside or outside? And I was like, outside. And my children actually, like after 15 minutes, like couldn't physically sit in a chair. And so that's been really hard when we go back because they have no idea how to behave in the United States. So yeah.
US etiquette versus, yeah,
Yeah,
growing
they
up
have
in
none.
the different worlds.
None. Actually, David, this is funny too. When we came back from China, we went to Panda Express. It was one of our first stops. And Henley was like 2.5 at this time, and she started crying. And I didn't get her. I just kept eating my meal. And she kept crying. And it took a few minutes for me to realize no one was coming to get her. And so I was like, oh, I actually have to deal with you. So I like took her out and, obviously did the mom thing and took care of my crying baby. But I was so used to in China, like never having to worry about a crying baby because everybody else in the restaurant would come like take care of her. So there's been adjustments. Yeah.
So not only adjustments for them, adjustments for you, and yeah,
Yes.
totally. So, so then along those same lines, then over time, travel tends to change us and our approach to exploring new places. So, how has travel and your travel style evolved, and what kinds of key lessons have you learned along the way?
Oh, yeah. So there's traveling and there's like vacationing, I guess. And I think there's place for both. I think there is a time and place for vacationing and traveling. And so there are times when it's like nice to go to a resort and just chill and not have to think about activities and food. And we do that on occasion. But traveling is for us has changed. It's now like I'm not interested in like the tourist attractions unless it's just something you have to see. Like I want to stay with local families. I want to join meals in the neighborhood, where we are in the Dominican Republic. I would say the majority of our got some expat friends, of course, but I also have a lot of local Dominican friends. And traveling is just for me, like what lessons can I learn? Also, it's just stripping what we think is the norm. And like I had someone ask me, hey, we'd like to come for the summer for 3 weeks. Can you hook us up with some missionary work? And I was like, absolutely not. Because you're gonna want to come into the barrios, the neighborhoods, right, of my friends and tell them that the way that they live is not right. And that your house that you want to build for them is better because it's the American way. And in reality, the folks, while they are super poor compared to American standards, are super happy. And I think for me, like that has been hands down the biggest lifestyle change for me is knowing that just because it's cultural norm in the United States does not mean it is the right way. Um, that was the very first lesson I learned in China. Our school took us to IKEA and to like, get stuff for our apartment. And I was standing in line to get in an elevator. And 4 times that elevator opened and I didn't get in because everyone just like pushed past me to get in the elevator. So by the 4th time, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have to go. Like I'm gonna have to barge myself into the elevator. And I remember being so angry. And like these Chinese people, I had all these terrible things in my head. And that night, I was like, no, no, Lacy. In the United States, maybe we do line up, right? Single file, we're all waiting for the elevator, whatever. That doesn't mean it's the right way. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but it doesn't mean it's right. It just means that's how you do things in the United States. And that is not how they do things in China. And it is not my job to come to China and say, hey, everyone, if you line up, it'd be more efficient. It's not my job. So that, gosh, that happened like, I think the second or third day of being there. And that has never left me. So now when we travel and I start to think about this is wrong, I'm like, no, it's not wrong. It's my way, the United States way isn't the right way. And it's just a way. And that's just been monumental for me.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. All of us travelers can relate. We've all had that epiphany moment like that. Those that are full-time traveling. Ah, I had one in China as well, where train stations, where everybody runs to their train at full speed. That was
Elbow your way in. Yeah.
but yeah, so yeah, there's lots of things. I'm sure you've got a million different stories.
Yeah.
So, how about balancing schooling and extracurricular activities while traveling? So that can be daunting, even for a parent with a home base or never travels. So how do you do that as a traveler and moving your kids around from one place to another? Can you share your approach on that?
Sure. So I would say, we maybe don't follow the most traditional world schooling path. Some people have strong feelings about this, but we, I've been, we sort of stay in one home base and then launch, right, and travel while we're there. And then we come back to our home base and my kids go to school. I mean, my little one begins kindergarten this year and she starts at a Montessori school here in town. And the older one actually is leaving traditional school and going to do a like homeschool pod with
Mm,
15 total children with a licensed teacher so that she has more time to focus on surfing in the mornings and things like that. So that's our approach. I am a teacher, I have my master's degree, but teaching my own children is not my strong suit.
So this isn't your normal U.S. agrarian style, what, 7 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon type schooling?
Oh no. My girls went to a school here in the DR called Isla Academy. It's an amazing school set in the jungle, and their motto is learn to love to learn. And it's about how to learn, not what to learn. And so that has been brilliant for my daughter. She's a bit of a mad hatter, just like lots of tinkering. And so no, that school I think 8:30 to 3:30, but we were never on time
Yeah, something
because
like that.
she
Yeah.
surfed. Yeah. Um, but still the day was filled with permaculture and Spanish and sports, and it definitely wasn't just sitting in a chair like traditional education system, which no shade. If people like that style, it's totally fine. But it's nice to know there are other styles out
I
there.
agree. There are many different ways to learn and so many different educational styles. And we're going to be talking about a lot of them on this podcast as time goes by, because every traveling parent does a little something different from what you're doing with this more having them enrolled in Montessori, and your other daughter, you said she's doing a totally different homeschool pod.
Mhm.
There's unschooling, which is a little bit of like what we do, mixed with more world schooling, and then there's homeschooling, and everything in between. So there's so many different ways to teach your child and make them successful with what they want to do. And
Mhm.
that's what I like to try to remind people. It's where do they want to be? What are they going to do when they grow up? And there's no right or wrong way to get there. There's just what's right or wrong for them.
Correct. I think that's critical. And there's no, it's the end of the day, it's are you happy? You
Yeah.
know, so some kids, a gal I know, her daughter was unschooled for a long time and recently, very recently said, I really miss worksheets and desks. Can you please put me back into school with a worksheet and a desk? Because that's what I like.
Mhm.
And she said, all right, like your whole life, you're 11 now, and your whole life you've been able to pick your, oh, choose your own adventure, and you are choosing this. And so even though it's not what I personally want for you, it's what you are telling me you want. So absolutely, let's go. Like, put her in school. So I think we just have to listen to our kids. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So then let's get into favorite destinations. But let's do it with a twist with kids. Favorite destinations with kids.
Well, I've never been anywhere without my kids. So
Okay.
uh,
Not even traveling before the kids were born?
I never
Oh,
left the United States until we
okay.
went to China. China was my very first time leaving the
Wow.
United. I mean, if you count a cruise, then okay, but even the cruises I went on with my daughter when she was 4 and 5, her third birthday and her fourth birthday, I took her on a cruise. So yeah, my traveling. Here's what that should tell anyone who's listening: just travel with your kids. It's not scary.
No, it's definitely not scary. Don't leave them at home. Don't leave them with a grandparent. Take them with you.
No.
So
But
then, all right.
favorite destination?
Yeah, favorite destination.
All of them. I can't pick a favorite. For us, it's like there's a lesson learned in each place. But I will tell you, there is a piece of Beijing that just cannot let go. I like not a piece, all of it. I can't. Yeah, Beijing can't leave my heart. Like I'm like, please fall off so I stop thinking about you every day, but it won't leave. In fact, it just grows tighter and tighter. So I Beijing's going to, I don't know when or how this year, next year, 10. I'm not sure, but we will go back
It'll
to
open up again.
Beijing. Yeah.
I've got students that want me to come see them, so
Well,
I'm
the
hoping.
thing is Beijing is open now. You can go, anyone can go, but I want to go back and teach. Like I want to go back
Mm,
to Beijing and be a teacher, and so I'm manifesting that. And when the time is right, I just know the world will provide. So
gotcha. Well, all right. Let's do a little fun here.
okay,
Lightning round. So tell me what comes to your mind first.
okay,
Coffee or tea?
neither
What's your preferred beverage?
water. Caffeine puts me to sleep, so
Okay.
yeah,
So we have water. All right. Totally different. Cat or dog?
dog.
Dog. All right. Pool or beach?
That question's tricky. Is if you said pool or ocean, I would say pool. I live in anyways, I'm scared of the ocean a little bit, so pool.
Pool. All right. All right. Would you rather be able to understand and speak every language in the world or be able to teleport anywhere at any time?
Speak any language.
Okay,
Mhm.
very cool. Now, imagine this. You get off the plane at your next destination and you arrive to the zombie apocalypse. You're able to get to your bags. What's the first thing you would grab and why?
There's like, if you had asked me this question 5 years ago, my answer would be so different.
Hmm.
Nothing. My passports would be on me, and all that would be in my bags are clothes. And if the zombies are coming, I don't really care about clothes. So maybe the bag itself, so I can have some stuff to store, like my food as I'm trying to hide. Yeah, I don't
There,
see that
all right,
question
there
has really changed over the years. Yeah.
yes. How would you have answered 5 years ago?
I just would have said my stuff, like my clothes. What would I do without my clothes? Yeah, or my laptop.
Your laptop. Laptop's going to do you no good in the zombie apocalypse.
Exactly.
All right. Trivia time. Let's do some travel trivia.
Oh God.
Yeah. What is the traditional Chinese art of folding paper called?
It's not origami because that's Japanese. So I don't know.
All
Or
right.
is it origami? Maybe origami is. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
It's technically called zezhi. Zezhi. can never pronounce Chinese words very right. I'll put that on the screen for people. But it's similar, very similar to origami.
Okay.
And now, which animal is considered a symbol of good luck in Chinese culture?
The dragon.
Panda. I
Oh, the
thought I
panda.
thought I thought it was the dragon at first too, but yeah,
I guess
panda.
the dragon's not real. So yes, the panda.
Which famous U.S. sport is very popular in the Dominican Republic?
That would be baseball.
Hey, ding ding ding. Good job.
Yes.
I I did not know that one myself.
Oh, yes.
I how
Baseball
big is
fields.
it?
I mean, every single neighborhood has a diamond. It's huge.
Huge. All
Yeah.
right. I thought it was going to be surfing or something myself, but then I heard, wow, baseball. Very cool. All right. Which well-known Caribbean dance style originated in the Dominican Republic?
Oh, is that going to be? Oh, I can see it in my head. They talked about it with soccer. Well, there's bachata and merengue. I don't know if it's either one of those.
It's one of those.
Yeah,
50-50 again.
I'd probably say bachata.
Merengue. So
It was
close.
merengue. Yeah.
All right. The famous fountain show on the Las Vegas Strip takes place in front of what
The
hotel?
Bellagio.
Yes, ding ding ding. All right, cool. Well, as we wrap up, do you have any pearls of wisdom or tips for other single parents who might be considering a similar travel adventure or lifestyle with their kiddos?
Here's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth, but I think that just do it. Just travel. And for us, what's made it easy is that we don't live off of routine. So when my girls were little, they did not have a rigid bedtime routine. If we were invited to dinner and we didn't get home until 10, we didn't get home until 10. They didn't have sound machines and this, that, and blackout curtains. And I mean, we just didn't do that because I wanted to be on the go and it didn't work for my lifestyle. So I think learning to shed all of these ideas, these mommy blogs that, new moms are so like into reading, that you must do it this way, or if, your kids have to have only organic food. If you can just trust your own instincts, I think that has helped me with my parenting and my kids a lot. Also, like, you just know travel days aren't fun, especially when they're little. Like airplanes with the 2-year-old, it's like not a great time. And I just set that expectation before I leave. Like, all right, it's a flight. Once the flight's over, it's over, and never do that part again. And I move on with the vacation or the trip or the travel or whatever it is. And then my last motto, and my girls know this, is everyone helps. So when we were little, the girls, when Cora was 3 and I took her on her cruise for her birthday, I had the suitcase and her car seat and the stroller and all these things. And she's 3 years old pulling a suitcase, because that was the motto. Like everyone helps when we travel. And so, and we ask for help. I just pay now. Like, hey, I'll just pay for the cart. Or we pay the guy a tip to grab the little rolling thing and help us. And I see that all the time, David, all the time on these blogs or Facebook groups. Like, how am I going to travel with 2 car seats and 2 suitcases and I'm a single mom? And the answer is you just do. There have been times that I had to park the rental car in the garage, take the girls all the way inside the airport, get the push cart all the way back to the parking garage, load it up, and then go into the airport. And that's like when I rent a car on Turo or something, and that's where I have to leave the car. And I just know that's what we do, right? So if my travel day I have to add an hour because we're gonna have to make a couple trips back and forth so I think it's just you shed all these expectations of what you think it's gonna look like, and then you just go and you do it. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Any parting thoughts for those who may have had adopted? Is there anything that's been a challenge or a trick that's come up because the kids were adopted?
Nope. The very first time this has happened was this last trip when we went from the DR to the US, which we've done plenty of times. They asked for the dad's permission. And I said, well, they don't have a dad on their birth certificate. And I didn't even have my birth certificate on me. And they said, oh, okay. And like, let us through. It is recommended, right? You carry a birth certificate with you. But no, in terms of them being adopted, no one's ever asked. Just get their passports and start getting stamps.
Yes, start getting stamps. Your girls
Yeah.
must have a lot of stamps by now.
Yes, they're right here. I was just looking at them. We've only got 4 pages left. And mine's still valid for 7 more years. And I only got 4
Mhm.
pages left. So I'm gonna have to get a new book, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. We just got a new book for our little man, and we had to get the one with extra pages, as I was
Yeah.
not taking a chance this time.
Yep. That's gonna have to be what we have to do next time. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Our Offbeat Life podcast show, where we bring you the most inspiring and transformative stories of family life on the road and around the world. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to be the first to hear about the new episodes, and follow us on social media channels to stay up to date with our latest offbeat living tips and trends. Until then, embrace the offbeat. Thank you, Lacy. It's been wonderful talking with you. People are going to love your stories. There's so
Thanks
many
for
good
inviting me.
stories.
I just hope
Yes.
if it inspires just one single mom or dad to just buy the plane ticket and go. I hope it does.
I've
Yeah.
never I've never met a single dad traveling yet, so I really hope you inspire both sides, as you said, because that would be amazing to see other stories and see people just living their truth and living the way that it makes them happy.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, David.
Thank you very much. So excited to meet you, and hopefully we get to catch up again.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, before you go, can you do us a huge favor? If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and drop a comment on our YouTube channel. Your feedback helps us create more content that you love. Thank you for your support.